we'll bring on our next guest, who's Stephanie Jackson. Stephanie has a book called The Power of Five, and it's reclaiming your power after COVID, racial injustice, and beyond. So, a lot of people, COVID affected people in more than just with the virus. It affected so many aspects of our lives. Just how we do business, how we work, how we, it just has affected so many. And there's been so much loss.
We even talk to each other, how we communicate with each other, how do we come together? Do we, we used to hug each other. We don't hug each other as much as we used to anymore. Right. So yeah, COVID is just, in certain aspects of it are going to be here to stay.
It's changed our world. But I think over time, it will wane, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take years. But anyway, Stephanie.
Hello.
Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I appreciate it. Hello, Dr. Lawson and Miss Gwen Richardson. I thank you all for this platform. Thank you all for the work that you have done in order to create this platform for others and for people like myself. And the way that you just started that conversation real quick, that's about COVID. That's exactly the purpose of my book, The Power of Five, Reclaiming Your Power After COVID, Racial Injustice, and Beyond. Because
that doesn't seem like, at first it doesn't seem like those are things that go together. So can we elaborate on that a little?
Definitely. So just thinking about the power that many people felt like they lost when the world was shut down on March the 13th of 2020. You could only, you couldn't go outside, supposedly, you were confined to your home. People like me, I'm single. I don't have any children. I don't have any fur babies. So I'm in the house by myself, and I'm an educator. I teach elementary school, and I had to create a system to help them remember that they have power, regardless of the things going on around you. You have power, the power necessary to effectively respond to the things that are going on around you. In order to keep yourself grounded, to handle the things that are coming towards you. Just like you said, that the way that we live is different. It's going to be different. And even taking into consideration that the children that were conceived and born during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Even thinking about any women who may have had the vaccine, any men who were fathers during that time who had the vaccine within their system. How does that change children, and how does that change how they develop? And then even thinking about with the racial injustice. So I'm from Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know what happened in Louisville, Kentucky. And
I used to live in Radcliffe. I was right down the street from you.
Yeah, so I live in the heart of downtown, so I could hear the helicopters at night. I could, and being afraid in my own home, that, and I wasn't even down on the front lines. There were so many other people down on the front lines fighting for justice during that time, because we were in two overlapping global pandemics at that time. You understand? Mm-hmm. So that's the connection with the two. And we have to make sure that we reclaim the power that we have within us, the God-given power that we have. So POWER is an acronym.
Okay.
And it stands for, P stands for practicing gratitude. Mm-hmm. The power of five things, 5 minutes. Thinking about the things that you are grateful for, that are tangible and intangible, like your breath, love, shelter, protection. And then even thinking about like this opportunity right here is something that I'm grateful for. So whenever you're feeling any type of uncomfortable feeling, whenever you are feel like you're being pushed to the limits and you can't take it, or you feel like you want to fly off the handle, just take a moment and think about the things that you're grateful for. And O stands for an optimistic mindset. Thinking about the things that you are hopeful for today, this week, this month, thinking about goal setting this year, and even in your lifetime, right? So thinking about what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. You all created Black Authors Matter for a reason. This is part of your legacy. Your legacy is not only when your breath no longer breathes in your body. Your legacy is right here and right now in the moments that you have with the breath in your body. And then so P, practice gratitude. O is an optimistic mindset. W is a wise plan. So you can't say that you want to do something and be something and don't take small action steps in order to make your hopes and dreams your reality. Because in COVID, you know, just think about your experience and how you felt like, oh goodness, I need to go to the grocery store, but I'm too afraid. But you have power within, so that when you are walking through it, you can use this mindfulness strategy to continue to forge through, right? Something as simple. So when I was writing the book, I had to practice the Power of Five myself, just because, you know, when you're doing something different, this is my first book. When you're doing something,
I was going to ask you that.
My very first book, I'm a poet, and I started writing in 2013 because of some emotional things that I was going through. Now, I wrote before when I was younger, but I really didn't put pen to paper intentionally to express my feelings until 2013. But when I was writing the book, I had to get a Post-it note and write down these action steps in order to make sure that I followed through. Because I can't say I want to leave a legacy, because my purpose in life is to speak life into the world so that it may be transformed through children and families. So I can't say that this is my purpose and not do what I need to do to make it happen. Now, E is for an exercise. It is what you think, but it's also not necessarily what you think. And everything that you do it's just for a minute, 60 seconds, right? You can do some calisthenics, you can some jumping jacks, some push-ups, even if you just want to take a brisk walk, or you can just do a mindful exercise where you're just being present. How often do we take the time just to sit and be still? Just be present.
Like we have to be doing something. We have to fill in those quiet moments with something. And sometimes we even feel guilty if we're just laying around watching TV, or just laying down being quiet and reading a book, or just laying down and doing nothing. We start to feel guilty, like I should be doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. And listen, I'm guilty of it too. But then it's always where we have to retrain our brains.
Right.
We have to retrain our brains and realize that it's those quiet moments that nurture us. You know, that nurture the spirit within us to be able to find clarity.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, when you can find that clarity in those silent moments, it's almost like it's rest, right? It's a rejuvenation, and you feel different. You feel different even at a cellular level. That's the kind of change that I want to help people. I want to help facilitate for others as well as myself, because this book is not just for other people. It's for me as well. So, and then there's like a breathing exercises that you can do. In the book, there's an appendix that has a complete list of, well, it's not exhaustive because there are more. You can create your own. So I'm a singer as well. And sometimes I might just, do a few runs. If you are an artist, you can doodle for a minute, practicing using the skills that you have in order to sharpen to sharpen your skills, to make yourself a better, because we have to use our gifts, not only for ourselves, but for other people, right? So that's part of going back to that optimistic mindset, thinking about your legacy. So how
did you find these tips? Because I know you said when COVID first started, you were by yourself.
Yeah.
So did you just read up on these things? Did you get advice from people? Where did you get to the point where you could put all of this into a book?
So right now I am what's called a compassionate schools curriculum teacher. Oh. And it's through the University of Virginia. They had a pilot program, and I'm part of the initial study where we teach kids to be more aware of their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, their nutrition, and physical activity, so that when they come to school or when they show up in a space, they can show up as their best selves.
Yes.
And this is not just pertinent to children. If I would have had these resources that I'm teaching my students when I was their age, my life would be completely different. But so I learned a lot of that through my training with that program, and I'm also a certified school counselor. So that also helps with the information, and then researching things and doing what I've learned works for me. So if it'll work for me, if it has worked for me,
yeah,
we're here for each other. So anything I learn, it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility to teach somebody else, to share it with somebody else.
Absolutely.
And then, so power is practice and gratitude, optimistic mindset. W is a wise plan. E is an exercise. And my absolute favorite of the Power of 5 acronym is reflecting on your greatness. R is reflecting on your greatness.
I think that's how we forget. We forget to celebrate our wins. I mean, I had to be reminded of that recently. I was so busy saying, oh no, I was supposed to do this and this. And my coach was like, no, what you did was phenomenal. I'm like, no, I needed to do this and this. And exactly. We just forget that we've got to celebrate our wins, or else we're going to always think that we're failing. Sometimes we've got to say, I won, I am great.
And just sit in it. It's like, so I've done like with some of my family members or my close friends, if they've gone through something, I'll just talk with them, and I will walk them through the Power of 5. And then with those affirmations, because when you reflect on your greatness, it's important to turn it into an affirmation so you can walk boldly in the knowingness of who you are and who you are becoming. Because when you go back and look at the optimistic mindset, what you're hopeful for, you can turn those into affirmations, because when we speak things into existence,
yes,
you know what I'm saying? It helps us to walk in the knowingness of who we are. And, me in my faith, I'm able to, and I'm not saying that just because I wrote this book, that it is easy. It is not easy.
It's something that you have to work on constantly. Even if you're an expert at everything in the book, you've got to work on it constantly.
Now I have a question. I'm sorry I had left there. I was telling the audience before, I had dealing with allergies. So anyway, and I want to do it on here as much as I can. So anyway, what grade level are you teaching?
I teach kindergarten through 5th grade.
Oh, okay. So you're dealing with really young kids.
Yes.
And helping to shape their view of themselves and the world. Now, with what are some of the things you're saying with COVID as it relates to your students, like the impacts?
Ooh.
We hear about it, on the news, but it's always good to hear it from an actual instructor.
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking. So I've noticed that some have a learned helplessness, and they won't even try to do something. I was in a first grade classroom, and I was working with so I also push into classrooms so that, to support academically and not just, socially and emotionally. And I just worked with you yesterday on how to break apart letters and how to stretch them out. And today you're acting as if you have no idea, how to get started. There are some students who won't even get started until, and this is so in fifth grade, there's some children who won't get started until you're actually right there and you're telling them to do it. Like, if I'm not directly talking to you, then it doesn't pertain to you, but it does. And then, and then social media has really taken a hold of their minds.
Yeah.
Every time I look around, I see some little girl, some little boy doing a TikTok dance. Darling, listen, if you looked at different TikToks that nourish your mind and your spirit, then what would we see? And it's just like they're dealing with a lot of heavy things that they may not have had the opportunity to deal with before coming back. So they have a lot of emotions, and some children have been exposed to things that they didn't need to be exposed to, during COVID.
Janice Karen asked if you were considering writing a children's book. Just based on what I'm hearing, I'm wondering if that's next.
It is. It definitely is. So someone in the district has got a hold of the book, and I do desire to create. So this is the, you might not be able to see it because
I'll put it right in front of you. Looks like
okay. Right in front of your face like this, or you're able to.
No, no, she's holding it. It just looks like you're holding.
It looks like you're holding the picture that's behind you.
Okay, hold on real quick. Let me see if I can turn.
Okay, now I see it. Reclaiming your power after COVID. Okay, it looks like a cutout. Is it a cutout or a book?
It is a book. It's a workbook.
Okay.
It's a workbook. So there's work for each chapter, to take you through the process of the Power of Five, breaking it down into small bite-sized pieces. And then there are journal pages at the very end of the book. So I am coming out with a journal just for the Power of Five. So multiple pages for the Power of Five. So that you don't have to recreate it. Definitely a children's version. Excuse me.
See, this stuff doesn't travel through Zoom, but
I will say that your cup is cute though.
Thank you. Listen, it was a gift. It was a gift. I'm very grateful. Miss Reva Caldwell, if you're watching, thank you. But definitely a children's version of the book, because they are the reason why I wrote the book. Just in general, I was trying to create something to make them want to hop online. I have a song that I wrote that kind of goes with it. Tell them they are powerful, they are important, they are determined, they are resilient, and encouraging them to celebrate themselves. And that's another thing that I'm seeing. Children are not taking the time to celebrate themselves. They want to continue to seek approval from us as teachers, and understandably so. But it's your responsibility to fill yourself up before you leave the house, so that you can operate in a place of overflow. When you operate from a place of overflow, you're able to be of service to other people, not only yourself.
Yeah, the thing you said about social media and TikTok is really a shame that young children are even on it. But so much now, in terms of a lot of their self-worth, is tied up in views and shares, and did I go viral, and who liked my video, and this, not enough people liked it. What does that mean?
I'm going to say this. I don't think social media in and of itself is a bad thing. I think that there are young people out there who are doing amazing things with TikTok. They're 14-year-olds who are now millionaires because
Yeah.
of TikTok and Instagram. I think really what it is that it's okay. Like my daughter used to be a YouTuber when she was 12 years old. She doesn't do it anymore, but she decided she wanted to get out of it because she just didn't like some of the things that she saw. And I think part of that is we have to manage our young people's expectations. It's fine if they're going to do things, but post something because you like it.
Right.
Not because you're wanting to get 2,000 likes on it, and don't feel that you have to take it down because you didn't get the requisite number of likes that you thought you were supposed to have. So, along with social media, we've got to teach self-love.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of the kids are really on their own on social media. That's one of the problems. They're really not being directed or guided. They're just on there. And so that's a real challenge. And I don't know how I feel about a 14-year-old millionaire, Rhonda. Like if you
if they're doing that thing, why would I be mad at them?
Well, I'm not mad. I'm just saying a lot of the children, like if you look at child actors that made a lot of money, they end up having a lot of issues. They want to remove themselves from their parents, divorce their parents. They, it's not, for a lot of them, it's not a pretty picture. And, when you peak at 14, what do you have to look forward to? I hear what you're saying. $1 million is still $1 million. And I agree with you on that.
So, and that's part of the book. That's part of the book. So my desire is to start a podcast to help with the legacy building, because there are so many people who have become entrepreneurs because of COVID.
And that is a fact. That is true. There are other ways too. The traditional ways of marketing that used to require you to have a huge amount of money. There's all kinds of avenues now that don't require very much money at all, just really ingenuity. And you want to do something different that people can use and that was helpful to them. So you have to build an audience, but it's a lot easier to do it than it was before COVID. And people didn't really pursue those different avenues as much because the necessity wasn't there. And necessity is the mother of invention. That's an old saying. That's true.
Miss Stephanie, you mentioned a podcast. You're not talking about the Women of Intent monthly series? Are you thinking of creating another one?
So the Women of Intent monthly series is specifically with a group called Women of Intent that you can find on Facebook.
Okay.
And we have a agreement with the Goodwill Industries here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we partner with them, and we offer sessions on Thursdays at 6 and on Saturdays at 10 a.m. But no, so I do want to have my own podcast. Hopefully this maybe late summer, just to help other families, because there's no Cosby Show anymore. There are no examples of the Cosby Show.
Yeah,
anymore,
you're right.
So, but if I can tap into my own backyard, friends that I went to high school with, middle school with, who have used the time that they had during COVID, or even just because that's who they are, to help their children create generational wealth now. Right. You don't have to wait until, and that's a misconception that many people have had for years, that you have to wait until you're grown to tap into who you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah.
Well, listen, who we are when we grow up is now. They're
growing up so much faster now. We kind of have to make these decisions earlier.
That is definitely true. But I know that there are other people in different races who already have their child's future mapped out.
Yeah.
So it's important to help our children be curious about life, be curious about who they are, so that when they walk into a space, they know who they are because they've tried different things. They've been exposed to different things. There are so many resources within your city that are free that you can tap into to help your child develop, to help them grow, to help them have experiences that they wouldn't necessarily have been afforded if they're just staying at home, you know?
Well,
So yeah.
it's a good idea to help your children develop a plan, because you need the balance of, you know, like naivety
Yes.
versus some factual. You know, you need balance.
Yes,
You need a
ma'am.
person to be, you know, to have a vision, but it needs to be balanced with some factual information, something that they can really use. So it's a good idea.
And then even as a family, I know here in Louisville, the Ellis family, they have with Portia Ellis, Chelsea Ellis, and their father, they have like their own, oh, I can't think of they pour asphalt, and they, you know, they do driveways and parking lots and things of that nature, but that's not all that they do. They have their own businesses, and they have multiple businesses, and they use their skills, and they help their children to do the same. So it's that, even the 80 Porter and Sons, the funeral home, it's here in Louisville, Kentucky. They have created something that is where they can pass it down from generation to generation. That's what I'm talking about. How families can collectively come together.
It doesn't have to be the sexy thing. Everybody doesn't have to go to school to be a doctor or a lawyer. Sometimes there are trades that may not be the sexiest trade, but they are going to create generational wealth for your family. So I love the fact that they're doing that, and that you highlighted them.
Thank you. And then Vernice Michelle with Women of Intent, she created something for women in 2018 from her own home, her living room in her home. But she's brought on different facilitators to facilitate these women meetings for women to sow into each other's lives. And her children are also planning to join as facilitators. You know, so we have to create a village around ourselves. I also work with Play Cousins Collective, which is a nonprofit organization here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we build a village around our children and their families to help heal generational traumas and encourage positive and gentle parenting, among other things. And her children are heavily involved. She has 2 children, and they are a part of the tribe. So those are the kind of things that we need to do as individuals, tap into our own resources, but we have to reclaim our power. We have to take the time to sit with ourselves so that we can know, the goodness within and how we can use it to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it is now 8:59. Are you on East Coast? I forgot.
No, this is Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I told you I lived in Kentucky, but that was a long time ago. But no, we are at the end. And so if you can remind our viewers how they can find your book and how they can reach out to you.
So you can find me on Instagram with One Hope Eternally LLC. I can I put can you put my website in?
I just did.
Okay. So if you go to that website, you'll be able to find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. There are also places where you can find me to purchase my book and to keep in contact with me and to know what's going on next.
Well, I just followed you on Instagram too, so let's stay connected. And
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, and thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, you too.
Bye.